When it's fake money, everything feels easy. You click buy, click sell, and it's just numbers on a screen. You don't hesitate, you don't overthink, and you don't panic. But the moment that account balance becomes real, when you're trading with your hard-earned cash, something changes deep inside. Suddenly, every pip matters. Your heart beats faster, your breathing tightens, and your calm analysis turns into chaos. This is what no one tells you about trading. The hardest part isn't learning strategy or reading charts. It's staying calm when real money is on the line. You can spend months mastering your setup, but the moment you risk something that actually hurts to lose, your brain starts to fight you. It's not your skill that collapses, it's your psychology. There's a reason your performance drops when you go live. When you lose on demo, your brain doesn't care. There's no emotional consequence. But when it's real, that same loss feels like danger. Your nervous system can't tell the difference between losing a trade and being attacked. To your subconscious, both are threats. Your mind instantly triggers stress hormone, adrenaline, cortisol, flooding your body with tension. Your hands shake, your focus narrows, and suddenly, you're not trading anymore. You're reacting. This is why so many traders perform perfectly in practice and fall apart in real life. It's not because they're bad traders. It's because they've never trained for pressure. They've trained for analysis, not emotional control. They learn the market, but they never learn themselves. Imagine a pilot who's trained only in a simulator. In there, every crash is harmless. Every mistake can be reset. But when he's flying an actual plane, with lives on board and real consequences, his body reacts differently. His palms sweat, his breathing changes, his decisions slow down. He's still the same pilot, but pressure has changed his brain. That's what happens to traders every time they move from theory to reality. The real difference between a demo trader and a consistent one is emotional capacity, how much pressure they can handle without losing clarity. Because trading isn't about being perfect. It's about staying stable under stress. Anyone can follow a plan when things are calm. But can you follow it when your last trade just lost 5%? When your heart is pounding, and your next click could either fix everything or destroy your week? That's when psychology decides your future. Pressure doesn't just reveal character, it magnifies it. If you're greedy, pressure will make you reckless. If you're fearful, pressure will make you hesitant. If you're impatient, pressure will make you sabotage yourself faster. That's why traders say live money shows the truth. Because it strips away the mask of discipline you wear when there's no consequence. It shows what's really inside. Most traders try to fight pressure by pretending it doesn't exist. They tell themselves to calm down, to stay logical, to stick to the plan. But the brain doesn't listen to logic when fear takes over. You can't talk yourself out of stress. You have to train your body out of it. Calmness isn't a command, it's a habit built over time. Here's what really happens inside your mind when pressure hits. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for logic and reasoning, begins to shut down. Your amygdala, the emotional center, takes control. That's why you suddenly feel the urge to close early, move stops, or double your position. It's not that you're weak. It's that your brain is trying to protect you from pain. To it, the fastest way to escape stress is to change the situation immediately. That's why impulse trading feels like relief. At least for a second. But it's fake relief. Because every emotional decision you make creates another emotional problem later. Pressure is the invisible opponent that every trader fights. It's not the market. It's you. You're not battling price action. You're battling your own reaction. And the more money you trade, the louder that internal voice gets. You start questioning your plan, your analysis, even your worth. You start tying your identity to your P&L. You start believing that losing money means you're a failure. But that's not true. Pressure just makes losses feel personal. It turns statistics into emotion. The moment you place real money in the market, you're no longer trading charts, you're trading belief. Every decision becomes a reflection of how much faith you have in your plan. Do you trust it enough to hold? To take a loss gracefully? To let a winner run? That's the true test of pressure, not how good your setup looks, but how calm you can remain when your emotions scream for you to act. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you this. Are you struggling with fear, doubt, or overtrading? The truth is, most traders don't fail because of bad strategies. They fail because of bad psychology. That's why I created my ebook, Master Your Mind, Master Your Trades. It's packed with practical steps to control your emotions, stay disciplined, and trade like a pro. If you're ready to take your trading to the next level, check the link in the description and pinned comment, and grab your copy today. Now let's continue. Think back to your worst trades. Not the biggest losses, but the ones that hurt the most. Chances are, you knew exactly what you should have done, and you didn't do it. You closed too early. You moved your stop. You got revengeful. You broke your own rules. That's pressure in its purest form, the moment when your emotions override everything you know. You can't eliminate pressure. You can only get better at existing inside it. You train your emotions the same way athletes train their reflexes, through repetition and controlled discomfort. The more often you experience stress without reacting, the stronger your mental tolerance becomes. That's why consistent traders always say discipline isn't a one-time achievement, it's daily conditioning. When you learn to sit through discomfort without breaking, something changes in your psychology. You stop fearing losses because you've seen that they don't define you. You stop fearing drawdown because you know you can recover. You stop fearing pressure because you realize it's a test, not a threat. And that shift is what separates emotional traders from professional ones. The truth is, pressure never fully disappears. Even veteran traders feel it. The difference is, they've learned to translate it into focus instead of fear. They don't try to get rid of their emotions. They just don't let emotions decide for them. They understand that pressure is part of the game. If you can't handle it, you can't hold profits for long. Every time you trade with real money, remember this. The goal isn't to stay calm because the market is kind. It's to stay calm, even when the market is cruel. That's where growth happens. That's how consistency is built. Not in quiet moments, but in storms. Because if you can think clearly when your account is bleeding, when your equity is dropping, when your patience is tested, then you've already won. Trading under pressure is like holding your breath underwater. Most people panic, thrash around, and waste energy. But those who train their lungs stay calm, conserve oxygen, and rise back up stronger. The market rewards the traders who can breathe while everyone else is drowning. Pressure is inevitable. But panic is optional. When you finally learn to sit still through that burning feeling, that urge to fix, to chase, to escape, you'll start to see the market differently. You'll realize it was never about the price. It was always about your response. And that's when real mastery begins. When you first start trading, everyone tells you the same thing. Stay calm, trust your system, follow your plan. But no one explains how to actually do that when real money is on the line and your emotions are screaming at you. Because it's easy to be disciplined when nothing's at stake. It's easy to stay patient when you're trading demo funds. But when it's your own capital, money you've worked for, money that could pay rent, buy food, or change your life, calmness suddenly becomes the hardest skill in the world. That's when you learn the truth. Trading isn't a test of intelligence. It's a test of emotional control. Every trade you take is like a mirror. It shows you how much pressure you can truly handle. The market doesn't care how good your analysis is. It only cares about whether you can execute it while your heart is pounding and your thoughts are racing. Pressure in trading doesn't come from the charts. It comes from your relationship with money. Because deep down, money isn't just currency, it's security, pride, identity, freedom. When you risk it, your brain interprets it as risking all those things too. That's why a losing trade hurts so much. It feels like losing a part of yourself. The moment you click buy or sell, you enter a psychological battleground. Logic and emotion start to fight for control. One side says, stick to your plan. The other whispers, what if it reverses? What if you lose again? That battle doesn't happen in your strategy. It happens in your nervous system. Most traders try to think their way through pressure. They read motivational quotes, repeat affirmations, or remind themselves that losses are part of the game. But when fear kicks in, those words vanish. Because pressure doesn't respond to logic. It responds to conditioning. You can't think your way into calmness, you have to train it into your system through repetition and experience. Let's be honest, pressure changes everything. It makes you question your plan, your skills, and even your future. One bad trade turns into self-doubt. 2 bad trades turn into panic. You start to lose the bigger picture and get trapped in survival mode. Your focus shifts from trade well to make back what I lost. That's when discipline collapses. You stop following your process and start following your emotions. But here's the irony, pressure is not your enemy. It's your trainer. It's the part of trading that forces you to evolve. Every time you feel uncomfortable, your brain is building new emotional strength. Just like muscles grow under resistance, discipline grows under pressure. Without it, you'd never get stronger. The key is not to avoid pressure, but to learn how to use it as feedback. When pressure hits, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline. Your senses sharpen, your attention narrows, and your instinct pushes you to act. This biological response evolved to help humans survive danger. But in trading, it works against you. Because the market rewards patience, not panic. The ability to delay reaction, to sit in discomfort without moving, is what separates professionals from gamblers. Think about poker players. They face the same pressure as traders, real money, high stakes, unpredictable outcomes. But the best players are never the ones who react emotionally. They've trained themselves to sit still, to think clearly even when the pot is massive. They know that emotion clouds judgment, and judgment is everything. Trading is no different. Every emotional move costs you clarity, and clarity is the most valuable currency you have. You've probably experienced it before. The moment your trade goes slightly against you, and your body starts to heat up. Your chest tightens, your mind rushes through every scenario. You tell yourself, it's fine, but your hand is already hovering over the close button. You can't take the uncertainty anymore. You close it early, desperate for relief. And for a moment, you feel better, but then you watch price reverse back in your direction. You realize the market wasn't the enemy. Your reaction was. This is the silent trap of pressure. It makes you choose relief over logic. The human brain hates uncertainty more than loss. That's why traders often prefer taking a small guaranteed loss, rather than waiting for a plan to play out. The pain of not knowing feels worse than the pain of losing. But mastery comes when you learn to tolerate that uncertainty without breaking. Because that's when your decisions become purely strategic instead of emotional. Real calmness isn't the absence of emotion. It's the ability to feel fear and still act with control. You can't remove your emotions, but you can train yourself not to obey them. That's why consistent traders always talk about emotional detachment. It doesn't mean they don't care. It means they've built enough emotional discipline to act based on logic, not impulse. Pressure will always test you in subtle ways. It'll tempt you to move your stop-loss just a little further. It'll make you think, maybe I should take profit now before it reverses. It'll push you to overtrade, to chase, to prove something. And every time you give in, you reinforce that weakness. Because your brain learns through repetition. Every time you act emotionally, you make it easier to repeat next time. Every time you resist, you make it harder for emotion to control you. So, how do you build calmness under pressure? The first step is awareness. Most traders panic without even realizing they're in an emotional state. They think they're being rational, but they're just reacting to fear. You have to learn to catch the moment when pressure begins to rise. The tightening in your chest, the rush in your thoughts, the urge to act. That awareness creates a space between emotion and action. And in that space lies control. The second step is acceptance. Don't fight pressure, acknowledge it. Tell yourself, I'm feeling fear right now, and that's okay. By naming it, you strip it of power. Resistance amplifies emotion, but acceptance diffuses it. You can't trade calmly while trying to suppress what you feel. Calmness comes from allowing emotions to exist without letting them decide your next move. And finally, repetition. You have to expose yourself to pressure repeatedly until your nervous system adapts. Just like exposure therapy, you train by putting yourself in stressful situations and practicing composure. That means sticking to your plan even when your brain screams otherwise. Over time, your tolerance grows. What once made you panic becomes normal. What once felt unbearable becomes manageable. The truth is, you can't avoid pressure in trading. The market will always test your nerves. There will always be unexpected reversals, losing streaks, and moments that feel personal. But every time you stay calm in those moments, you build mental armor. That's what turns ordinary traders into professionals, not their strategy, but their ability to stay unshaken. You'll know you're growing when things that once terrified you no longer faze you. When you can watch a trade go red without panic. When you can take a loss and immediately refocus. When you can sit in drawdown and still execute your plan flawlessly. That's what emotional mastery looks like. Not perfection, but stability. Pressure isn't something you outgrow. It's something you learn to live with. Even the best traders in the world still feel it. But they've learned how to breathe through it, how to trust their preparation, and how to focus on execution rather than outcome. They know that staying calm doesn't mean feeling nothing. It means not letting those feelings control the next move. Trading under pressure is like standing in the middle of a storm. The wind will push you, the noise will distract you, and visibility will drop. But if you keep your focus on your compass, your plan, you'll find your direction again. The storm doesn't last forever, but if you panic, you'll lose your way completely. So when the next trade tests you, when the market moves fast, your pulse races, and everything feels uncertain, remember this. Your job isn't to be fearless. It's to stay functional. To stay centered even when chaos surrounds you. That's how you build confidence under pressure, one calm decision at a time. Because in trading, calmness isn't luck. It's skill. And it's the skill that keeps you in the game long enough to win. Every trader wants to believe they'll stay calm when real money is at risk. Everyone says, "I'll follow my plan, no matter what happens." But when you see your hard-earned capital floating on the screen, when you're up a few $100s, and the chart starts to pull back, logic quickly turns into emotion. Your heart rate rises, your palms get sweaty, and your brain starts to whisper, "Take the profit before it's gone." Or worse, when the trade goes against you, that same voice says, "Don't close it yet, it'll come back." That's not logic, that's your survival instinct. It's your brain trying to protect you from loss, not realizing that trading doesn't reward emotional survival, it rewards strategic discipline. This is the moment where most traders break. Not because they lack strategy, but because they can't handle the psychological pressure of seeing their decisions in real time, with real consequences. Let's be clear, pressure doesn't magically disappear when you gain experience. You just learn to handle it differently. In the beginning, it feels like a battle between your brain and your emotions. Later, it becomes a conversation. You still feel the fear, but you don't act on it. You still feel greed, but you let it pass. That's what emotional maturity in trading looks like, not the absence of emotion, but mastery over reaction. One of the biggest misconceptions in trading is that more money equals more confidence. In reality, more money often equals more pressure. A $50 trade might feel calm, but a $5,000 trade? Suddenly every tick matters. The numbers on your screen stop being just numbers, they represent opportunities, regrets, and fears all at once. The moment your self-worth becomes tied to your profit and loss, your judgment begins to fade. That's why professional traders separate identity from outcome. They don't measure success by the result of one trade, they measure it by how well they followed their process. Because they understand something most traders never learn. The market doesn't reward good results, it rewards good behavior. The results come later, as a side effect of consistent behavior under pressure. Think about athletes for a second. A basketball player doesn't become great by hitting one amazing shot. He becomes great by performing consistently under pressure. When the crowd is screaming, the clock is running out, and the weight of the game is on his shoulders. The same is true in trading. Anyone can be disciplined when the market is quiet. But can you stay disciplined when everything is against you? When your system says hold, but your emotions say run? That's the true test. Pressure makes your brain seek comfort. It wants relief from uncertainty, and the fastest way to get that relief is to act impulsively. Close the trade. Move the stop loss. Enter another setup too early. You feel a temporary sense of control, but it's an illusion, because every time you chase relief, you weaken your discipline muscle. You teach your brain that emotion equals action, and once that pattern forms, it becomes automatic. The only way to break that pattern is to reverse it, to teach your brain that emotion does not require action, that fear can exist without movement, that you can feel pressure and still sit still. The first few times, it'll feel unbearable. Your mind will scream for you to do something. But if you resist, if you just breathe and let the emotion pass, you'll realize something powerful. You didn't die. You survived the pressure without reacting. And that moment changes everything. Every trader has a pressure point, a point where logic breaks and instinct takes over. For some, it's when a trade hits break even. For others, it's after 2 losing trades in a row. That's your threshold, your psychological limit. You don't overcome it by avoiding it, you overcome it by facing it repeatedly until it loses power. It's exposure therapy for the mind. Imagine this. A professional sniper is trained to pull the trigger, while his heart is racing, while the target is moving, while the wind is unpredictable. He doesn't wait to feel calm before taking the shot, he trains to act calmly in chaos. That's what traders must learn to do. The goal isn't to eliminate pressure, it's to perform with precision despite it. The mistake most traders make is trying to feel good before executing. They wait for emotional comfort before making decisions. But comfort rarely comes first, clarity does. Professionals act with clarity, not comfort. They understand that discomfort is part of the job. They don't seek peace before execution. They find peace through execution. Here's the truth. Pressure reveals your habits. It exposes whether your process is strong or built on emotion. A trader who relies on luck or impulse will crumble when the market turns volatile. But a trader who has trained discipline, who journals, reviews, and practices patience, will stay steady even when the chart looks chaotic. That's not luck. That's emotional conditioning. Think of a pilot flying through turbulence. Passengers panic because they're not trained for uncertainty. The pilot doesn't panic, not because the plane isn't shaking, but because he's trained to focus on instruments, not feelings. Trading is the same. Your feelings will always fluctuate, but your process must remain stable. You must learn to fly through market turbulence without losing orientation. The real danger of pressure isn't just the emotional reaction, it's the identity shift it causes. When you're under stress, your mind goes from, "I'm a disciplined trader," to, "I need to make this trade work." You forget who you are and start acting like a gambler. That shift happens subtly, and it's what destroys consistency. You stop thinking long-term and start reacting short-term. To master pressure, you must anchor yourself to something deeper than outcome. A philosophy, a routine, a belief system. For example, my only goal is to execute my plan perfectly, regardless of the result. That single mindset transforms how you respond to pressure, because it removes emotional weight from each trade. You no longer need to win to feel in control. You just need to act correctly. Professional traders know that emotional pressure can't be removed, only redirected. They turn fear into focus. They use adrenaline as energy for discipline. Instead of letting emotion push them to act, they let it push them to observe. That's the difference between chaos and control, awareness. And awareness doesn't come from studying charts, It comes from studying yourself. Every trading session teaches you how your mind behaves under stress. Every losing streak reveals your weak spots. Every winning streak exposes your greed. Pressure is your greatest teacher, if you listen. There's a powerful moment that happens when you finally learn to stay calm under pressure. You stop fighting the market. You stop chasing perfection. You simply execute. It feels almost peaceful. Not because trading became easier, but because you stopped resisting the emotional waves. You surf them instead. This is why journaling is so powerful. It's not just about reviewing entries and exits. It's about documenting your emotional reactions. Write down how you felt during each trade. Did you panic? Did you rush? Did you hesitate? When you see those patterns written out, you begin to recognize the emotional cycles that repeat. And once you see them, you can break them. Calmness under pressure isn't built in one day. It's a slow accumulation of small moments, each time you don't overreact, each time you stay patient, each time you let logic win. Over time, those moments compound into confidence. Not the loud, arrogant kind of confidence, but the quiet kind that doesn't need proof. The kind that comes from mastery. Eventually, you stop seeing pressure as a threat. You start seeing it as a test, a way to measure how far you've grown. Because pressure doesn't disappear when you succeed, it simply changes shape. You'll face it again when you scale up, when you risk more, when your reputation grows. It never ends. But by then, you'll know something most traders don't: the market can't break you unless you let it. And that's the beauty of mastering pressure. You don't just become a better trader, you become a stronger person. You learn to breathe through chaos, to make decisions without panic, to act with clarity even when the world feels uncertain. That mindset doesn't just make you profitable, it makes you powerful. So next time you feel that rush of adrenaline, that urge to act, that tightness in your chest when the chart moves fast, remember, that's the test. That's the moment where discipline is forged. Don't run from it. Sit in it. Breathe through it. Let the market move, and stay still. Because real traders don't fight pressure, they master it. And once you do, no amount of volatility can shake you again. Every trader thinks they're ready for real money until it's their money on the line. The charts look the same, the setup feels familiar, but the heart beats faster, the palms sweat, and suddenly, logic vanishes. The trade that was supposed to be part of a well-planned strategy becomes a test of emotional survival. This is where most traders lose, not because of skill or knowledge, but because they can't stay calm when it truly matters. Trading with real money isn't just about risk, it's about emotional exposure. When there's something to lose, every small tick feels personal. You start questioning your plan, second-guessing your analysis, and reacting instead of responding. The mind becomes loud, full of what-ifs and should-haves. It's no longer just a chart. It's your confidence, your identity, and your self-worth flashing in red and green. But here's the truth few traders understand. Pressure isn't your enemy. It's a mirror. It reflects your true relationship with uncertainty, fear, and control. The calm trader isn't someone who feels nothing. It's someone who feels everything, and still chooses not to react emotionally. They've trained their mind to see risk as information, not as a threat. When you place a trade, your mind automatically calculates danger, even if you don't consciously feel it. The body reacts to potential loss the same way it reacts to physical pain. That's why revenge trading, panic exits, and over-leveraging feel like survival instincts. They're your brain trying to protect you. But in trading, protection often looks like destruction. You can't win the game by avoiding pain. You win by learning to endure it without losing clarity. Every professional trader has gone through the emotional war of losing trades, missed opportunities, and self-doubt. The difference is they learn to detach from the outcome. They understand that one trade means nothing. The outcome of a single moment never defines their identity. What matters is the process. The ability to stay objective no matter what the balance says. You can't remove pressure, but you can redefine it. Instead of seeing a live account as a test of your worth, treat it as an arena for self-mastery. The market doesn't reward emotion, it rewards consistency. Calmness under pressure is not something you wait to develop when things get serious. It's something you build every single day through small habits. When you risk real money, your goal isn't to win, it's to execute perfectly under stress. That's what separates a trader from a gambler. A gambler wants to feel something. A trader wants to do something, follow their plan regardless of what they feel. The plan becomes the shield that protects them from emotional chaos. If you ever find yourself freezing when a trade moves against you, breathe. Don't touch the mouse. Watch how your mind reacts. That discomfort you feel isn't weakness, it's awareness. The more you face it, the less power it has. Calmness is trained by exposure, not avoidance. You can't become mentally strong without feeling uncomfortable first. Think about pilots. They train for years in simulators, where they practice worst-case scenarios repeatedly. When something goes wrong mid-flight, they don't panic, they execute. Trading is no different. You can't expect to be calm with real money if you've never practiced emotional control when there was nothing at stake. That's why journaling and simulation are so powerful. You're not just testing strategies, you're testing yourself. And when you lose, that's where the true test begins. Losing calmly is one of the hardest skills in trading. It goes against every human instinct. But the moment you can accept a loss without emotional turbulence, you've already won. Because now, the market can't control you anymore. There's something poetic about calmness under pressure. It's not loud, it's not visible, but it's powerful. It's when you can stare at the screen, see your account fluctuate, and still act from logic, not emotion. It's when you can follow your plan, even when every part of you wants to do the opposite. That's when you stop being a trader who survives day to day and become one who thrives over the long term. The best traders in the world don't talk about confidence, they talk about composure. Confidence can fade when things go wrong. Composure doesn't. It's the ability to stay present, to focus only on the next right action. The next click. The next decision. Calmness is not the absence of fear. It's the control of focus despite fear. When you start viewing pressure as part of the game, it stops feeling like a threat. Every time you trade under stress, you're not just risking money, you're training emotional muscles. Every hesitation, every temptation, every near breakdown is shaping you into someone who can operate with clarity when others are losing control. Eventually, trading stops being about money. It becomes a mirror of your inner world, your patience, your ego, your discipline, your ability to stay centered. That's why calm traders often become successful not just in trading, but in life. They learn how to stay balanced when things don't go their way. They stop chasing instant gratification and start trusting in long-term processes. The real goal isn't to make money, it's to master yourself. Because when you master yourself, money naturally follows. The calm mind sees opportunities where the emotional mind sees chaos. It reacts slower, thinks deeper, and acts smarter. In the end, trading is not about being right. It's about being consistent, composed, and emotionally unshakable. So when you next sit down at your desk, before opening the charts, take a deep breath and remind yourself, this is not about proving anything. It's not about the outcome. It's about practice. About responding instead of reacting. About being still in the storm. Because the market rewards those who stay calm when others lose control. In time, you'll realize something beautiful. Pressure never really goes away. It just transforms. The more calm you become, the less it defines you. You stop fearing losses. You stop chasing wins. You simply trade, knowing that no matter what happens, you'll stay grounded. That's the peak of trading psychology. That's when you stop fighting the market and start flowing with it. And that's the secret. Calmness isn't what you gain after success, it's what brings success. The traders who master pressure don't do it by avoiding fear. They learn to act with precision despite it. They realize that peace doesn't come after the trade, it exists within it. So, the next time real money is on the line, don't try to silence your emotions. Acknowledge them, breathe through them, and act with discipline anyway. That's where growth happens. That's where the real edge lies. Because when the market gets chaotic and everyone else panics, the calm trader, the one who's trained for this moment, always wins in the end.